Hello class, it's time to review for our Unit 11 test. Before we review, I want to go over a few key concepts. Here we're solving equations, so we want to get the letter alone. So our goal on every single question is to get x, or whatever letter it is, alone, by itself on one side of the equation. How do we do that? Well, we're going to do PEMDAS backwards, which is SADMAP. What do you mean, Mr. Benson? Remember, we're going to do the opposite operation. The opposite of up is down. The opposite of left is right. The opposite of subtract is add. The opposite of divide is multiply. On your review, you see the first question says x plus 5 equals 21. So you need to ask yourself, how do I get x alone? That's right, you got to move the 5. How do we move the 5? We got to do the opposite. The operation here is add, so you are going to do the opposite. This question is similar to number 1. We have a plus 11. We need to do the opposite operation. So what's the opposite of addition? Subtraction, that's right. So we're going to subtract 11 from both sides to get the x alone. So what's 33 minus 11? Remember to use your calculators on every problem. Use it. This answer is going to be 22. Bring down the equal sign. This had canceled. Now we're left with x, or plus x. Plus x and x are the same, so x is alone. The only time it's not alone is if there's a number attached or a negative minus sign in front of it. X equals 22. Let's try a different kind. This one is similar to number 2 on your review. It says x minus 14 equals 8. So we need to do the opposite operation to get x alone. What operation is going on here? That's right. We got a negative 14 there, or a minus 14. So the opposite of minus is add. So we're going to add 14 to both sides. Divide this in half. Add 14 to this side. That's a sloppy 14. Sorry about that. What's 8 plus 14? Oh, what do you know? 22 again. Crazy. I just made up those numbers. Bring down the x. Again, x equals 22. 22 minus 14 gives us 8. So now let's try number 1. Remember, the goal is to get x alone. We do this by doing the opposite operation. So right here, our operation is plus 5. So what's the opposite of plus 5? That's right, we are going to subtract 5. From one side? No, from both sides. So come over here and we go minus 5. Minus 5. What's 21 minus 5? 16. So we bring down the equal sign. This is canceled. We bring down the x. X equals 16. We can double check by plugging 16 in for x. 16 plus 5 is 21. Now let's try number 2. Again, our goal is to get x alone. How do we do that? That's right. We do the opposite operation. What's going on in this problem? How do we get x alone? Yes, the opposite of negative 6. What's the opposite of negative 6? Positive 6. So we're going to add 6 to both sides. 6 here. What you do to one side, you always do to the other side.
Now make sure you're typing this
Into your calculator carefully. That's a negative 14 plus a 6. So negative 14 plus 6 is negative 8. I just checked my calculator. Did you see that? You should use your calculator too. So I write negative 8, and I got to bring down everything else. Bring down the equal sign. Then I have an x. Is x alone? Yeah, positive x is always alone. So our answer is negative 8. Around for a minute. Let's look at this one. Number 9 says 16 times x equals 304. I like this written out so that I can remind myself what's happening here between the 16 and the x. Again, what's my goal? My goal is to get x alone. How do I do it? I do the opposite operation. So when I write it out like this, 16 times x, I'm reminded that the operation here is times. I need to do the opposite of times. And what's that? It's divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 16. This becomes a 1 on this side. 1 times x is just x, so I'm going to write it here. And then what I do to the left side, I have to do to the right side. And I write this line as a fraction bar, because that's the way we show division in algebra. 304 divided by 16 is, what are you, crazy? Use a calculator. 19, how do I check it? I substitute 19 in for x. So I need to, in my calculator, type 16 times 19. If you get 304, we did it right.
All right, everybody. Who's sick of listening to Mr. Benson? It's time to take a break. Get up, go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, grab a snack, do 5 jumping jacks, and come back ready to learn some math.
If you're still watching this video, you might not need this reminder because you've been following along. But just in case, I'm going to write out this equation. We're skipping back to number 7. It says x divided by, oh, not 19, Mr. Benson, x divided by 15 equals 4, not 30. Oh, what was I thinking? Good thing that I check my work before moving ahead. Otherwise, I might get it wrong. And I wouldn't want to steer you wrong. Make sure you check your work too. X divided by 15. What is my goal? What does Benson want me to do? That's right. My goal is to get x alone. How do I do it? I do it by doing the opposite operation. The opposite of subtract is add. What's the opposite of divide? That's right. It's multiply or times. Let's multiply this out. I need to multiply both the top and the bottom by the same number. This time it's 15. When I multiply 15 here, these actually cancel. So it's a 1. Multiplying by 1 doesn't change anything. But when I multiply by 15 over here, it's not a 1. What is it? It's 60. Is that right? How could I check this? Divided by 15. I know by looking at a clock that 15 happens 4 different times in an hour at 15, 30, 45, and 60. I bet that answer's 4. 4. I got it right. Time to move on. Moving back up to 5. This is a hidden two-stepper. Can you see the hidden second step? Keep watching to see. What's my goal? My goal again is to get x alone. So I need to find the opposite operation. There's 2 operations going on here. This says 7 minus x equals 24. I need to do PEMDAS backwards, SADMAP. I start with the addition and subtraction before I move anything away from the x. I need to move the number to the other side. What kind of 7 do I have here? He pauses dramatically to see if the students can answer. Yes, it's a positive 7. So what's the opposite of positive? Negative. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. What's 24 minus 7? I got a positive 17. I brought down my x, but uh-oh, wait a second. X is not yet alone. What goes with the x? A minus. X is only alone if it's a positive. How do I move the negative to the other side? Dividing by negative 1. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to move the negative from this side to this side, and my answer is x equals negative 17. Got it? Good. Look at what I got right here. A real two-stepper. That's right, we're going to need to do SADMAP. Since we're solving, we're untying this equation. There's 2 things to do here. We're going to start by getting x alone by moving the subtract add step first. Do not pull that 7 away from the x. It's not ready yet. So what kind of 8 do we have here? Nothing's in front of it, so it looks like a positive 8. We need to do the opposite of positive, which is subtract 8 from both sides. What is 190 minus 8? That's right, it's 182. The 8 cancels over here. I have positive 7x, so I can just bring down the 7x. And I need to bring down the equal sign. So the subtract add step is done. On to the multiplication and division step. What does this say? This reads 7 times x equals 182. I need to do the opposite operation. Let me just double check what that is. Do the opposite operation. Subtract is add and divide is multiply. I wonder if that means multiply is divide. It says times. What's the opposite of times? Yes, it is division. We need to divide 7x by 7. Divide 7 on both sides. This cancels and becomes a 1. So x equals 182 divided by 7. Yes, we are all going to use our calculators.